So today we're going to do the handover video on the Bessacarr E560. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, if we come over to the passenger side, you can see that you've got your fill-up point for your diesel tank. Opening up, as you can see, the passenger door, you've got your bonnet release catch, which will release the bonnet. And you can also see that here, you'll notice you've got your remis cab blind clip, which just, if you pull down like that, will connect onto the magnetic strip. You've got these in your two front windows here, but also this main window or your main windscreen as well. Coming round underneath the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here. The main thing that you need to know is if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. I'll pop the bonnet now and lift it up so I can show you where that is. And with the bonnet open, you can see your negative terminal for jump starting is just here. Your positive terminal is just underneath this cap here. There's a little plus sign on there which indicates where that is located. Whilst we're underneath here, just to point out a couple more things, you've got your engine oil here along with your dipstick below that. You've then got your brake disc fluid, your engine coolant next to that, your power steering fluid, and then finally your washer fluid, which is just buried in there. Moving around the vehicle, you can see that you've got a little sticker here that says fresh tank drain, so at least you know whereabouts that's located. You've also got another one down there, which I'll show you. Now, draining your tank, or draining your system, there's three main drain down points. You've got your fresh water, which is here, your wastewater, which is on the back end, and your boiler drain down point, which is on the inside. You need to make sure when you're not using the vehicle, these are always drained down, because if they're not, you'll end up getting frozen water in the system. So just bear that in mind. Now, to drain these tanks down, this vehicle's a little bit different. Instead of faffing around with levers underneath the vehicle, it's all done on the inside. So I'll show you how to operate that. They're all electrics, they're dead easy and dead simple to use. Now, next to the little sticker, you'll notice you've got a pull-out drawer here. This is for some storage, which is dead handy. And above that, you can see you've got your fill-up point for your fresh water tank. And then this little piece next to here, this is just on a cap, this does pull off, will allow you to connect up to a smart site. So when you're on site and filling up with water, obviously make sure the tank is closed, but put your food grade hose pipe in there to fill up the tank, and then you're good to go. However, if you are on a smart site, all you need to do, take this cap off and link up to the smart site via this input, and that will just feed water through the vehicle. Next, you've got your vents. This is for your Alder heating. This uses a wet central heating system. This does get hot, so just bear that in mind. That's in essence your chimney. Next, I'll just open this up. In here you can see you've got a bit of storage, which is only accessible outside, so great for shoes and stuff like that. Next, you can see that you've got your fill-up point, or not fill-up point rather, your hookup point for your 230 volt mains electric. So when you're on site, you're going to be plugged in to this point here. Moving to the back, this is where this waste tank drain is located, just so you know, so you can level it up on site. And what we say is when you're on site, and this goes for all your drain down points, you'll have big grids that you can drive over, so you can then get lined up with that and drain the water. Now what we say is drain the majority of the water out, and then you can drain, you can leave them the tanks open as you're travelling home, just to ensure all of the system is empty, because the vibrations of the road are going to knock all that water out. Don't worry about this. You can see that you've got a pipe hanging down. That is simply a breather pipe. It should be like that, and that's a breather pipe for the tank. Finally, on this side of the vehicle, you can see you've got your cassette toilet. I'll open that up now. Now, the golden rule with the cassette toilet is to ensure that the blade on the toilet is always closed before removing the system. You can then slide the cassette out like so by pushing up on this handle and sliding towards you. So, next, emptying the cassette toilet. It's dead simple. All you've got to do, pull out the funnel like that, and press the orange button at the back, which will release an internal vacuum, and that will empty everything. Obviously, you'll need to remove the cap. Once you've done that, you can then put a bit of water in here to swill it out, and if you are using blue fluid, your blue fluid can go in the cap there. There's a little measurement on there, and then you can pop that just into the cassette. Slide that back when you are done, and then you can slide it back into the position that you found it. Now you'll notice that you have got this little piece here, this orange tab that does move. This should always stay in this position. You should never need to move this. This is in essence what makes contact with your blade when you're opening and closing it. So just leave that as it is. If that does move slightly, it'll stop you from sliding the cassette in. And as a rule of thumb, if anything feels like it's being forced, you're probably doing something wrong. So just, you know, take a minute just to think about what you're doing. So coming away from the cassette, I'm moving on to the back. You can see that you've got your camera system up at the back, along with your fuel awning. What am I saying? The fuel bike rack. Apologies. Your fuel awning is on the side here, as you can see. Just bear in mind, if it is a windy day, not to use this, because as you can imagine, it's like having a massive sail on the side of the van. So if it does get windy, just take it back in, and obviously if it's raining, take it back in, but then on a dry day you will just need to dry that out. Moving on, you can see that you've got a locker here, which I'll open for you. And with that open, you can see you've got access to your garage underneath your bed. In here is where your awning pole is located, along with your carpets and various other pieces. Moving on, you've got fridge vents on this side of the vehicle. Bear in mind, this is where the fridge pulls its air from. If it's a warm day and you've got the sun beating down on this side of the van, just turn the vehicle around, or just pull out the awning just to try and keep that under the shade, just to allow it to work a little bit more efficiently. Finally, on this side, you've got obviously the hab door, and then the last thing, you've got your gas locker, which is here. So this is where your gas bottles are stored. Please make sure that when travelling with gas that it's always turned off at the bottle before travelling, and then when you're ready to go, when you're on site and ready to use it, you can then turn it on for safety. Right, so we're now on the inside of the vehicle. You can see, just as we walk in, up here you've got your control panel. So here you've got your Aldi heating system. To firstly turn that on, click the button, you can see it all loads up. And this is for your hot water and also your space heater. Once you're at this home screen, click menu, and here are your options. So up at the top here, this is your space temperature, and you can have this on how you want it really. So you can have it on 30 degrees, that's the maximum. And then take it down if you wanted, but 9 times out of 10 you'll have it on 30 degrees. Below that you've then got your water temperature, so you can decide on how hot you want that. So full is approximately 70 degrees, halfway as it is there is approximately 50 degrees, and obviously nothing is off. So when you're showering you'll have it on 50 degrees, when you're washing up you'll have it on full at 70 degrees. Then finally, you've got underneath that the option of how you want to fuel it. So you can either run it off electric. So you've got 1 kilowatt electric, 2 kilowatt electric, or 3 kilowatt electric, depending on what you're supplied with on site. Or you can run it off gas by just clicking that there, and you'll hear that click. I'll just turn it off at the moment because we've no gas in the vehicle, but obviously that's how you do it. So you've got a few options there. Into this panel, if I click the settings, there we are, and connect through here, you've got the option of resetting this. The only time you really need to reset this is say for example you try and heat the vehicle with a fuel that you haven't got. So if I was trying to heat the vehicle off gas and I leave that on gas but I've no gas in the vehicle, you'll get an error code, and from there you'll probably just need to obviously reset the system. So just bear that in mind. Turn it off by just clicking that button, and then you're away. Next, in the centre, as I mentioned on the outside, your drain down points are all electric on this vehicle. It's dead easy. Your fresh drain down point is there. Your waste drain down point is just there. And I can actually, you might not be able to hear it on the video, but I can hear that working the pump as well. The next one, I believe, is just a light. I think it's your mood lighting somewhere in the vehicle. And then this is your main control panel. So you've got your on button down here. Above here you've got the options of flicking through the menus, and then your select button in the middle. And on the other side you've got your mood lighting, so you can operate your lights at night. You've then got your lights on the inside of the vehicle. You can see that turns on and off the lights. And then you've got your main spotlights in the vehicle here, as you can see. Finally, you've got a pump button here. Looks almost like a little information mark, but it's not. It's a pump that, and this is for your taps. So when you're on site and you're filled up with water, click that pump and then go to your taps, including your shower, and run the tap. Firstly, put it over to hot, and what that'll do is it'll pour water from the freshwater tank into the boiler and out of your tap. Once you've that's running steadily, you've primed your water for your hot water. Once you've done that, flick it over to cool, do the exact same, and then you're good to go. And then you can leave your pump on, because all of your taps have got micro switches which will activate and deactivate the pump whenever you need it, so don't worry about burning it out. The only time you need to obviously be conscious about burning the pump out is if you've got no water in the van. If there's no water, and especially if you leave up a tap on open, it'll just burn out the pump, so just bear that in mind. Now, the reason I tell you to put it on hot first is to get water through to the boiler, so then when you turn your heating on, it gives it chance to heat that water up, so by the time you need to access your hot water, it'll be nice and warm. Coming back over to the control panel, as I mentioned, you can then view your battery levels. You've got your fridge settings, your system settings, so if I click that, you can change the time, like so, and you can flick through the options in the vehicle, like you have now. At the moment, we're currently reading 12.1 volts, which is good because we're plugged in, and you can see that that's a reading for your leisure battery as well. Coming out of that, you can see you've got an option of selecting the battery to see what levels you're at. Currently, we're on the leisure battery, but you can change that to the vehicle battery. And flicking through these options, you've got the solar to leisure ampage. There's your vehicle battery level. And at the moment, your leisure battery is just pure. It's poor because we're not pulling any charge in. I've only just plugged it in. And flicking through these options gives you all of your levels. So it's dead simple, dead easy. Your wastewater tank as well and your freshwater tank levels will all be displayed on here as well for when you need it. Rightio, so moving on into the lounge area, you can see that I've just lifted up this section of the lounge just to show you that underneath here you can see you've got your Sergeant unit. This is where the vehicle's fuses are, as well as the RCD breaker, so if the vehicle ever trips, you can just come to this area here. You have got a system shutdown here if you're ever not using the vehicle, say it's going into hibernation mode, but to be fair, I wouldn't really use this, I'd just use the panel up there. That would be more than adequate. Now you will notice around the van you'll have these valves here. That's just a breather point for your glycol solution, which is for your Aldi heating, and I'll show you where the expansion tank is later on. On all your windows you can see you've got blackout blinds as well as fly screens as well, and on each of them you can in fact push them open or put them on venting should you want. Just make sure when travelling they are all closed, because you don't want any wind getting in there that could potentially pull them away and damage the vehicle. So coming into the kitchen area, going away from the lounge, we've spoken about priming your system on your pump, but here you can see that you've got, I'll lift this up, your hob with one electric plate with your oven and grill just below there. You've got plenty of storage in this vehicle as well, which is dead handy to get to, and you can see underneath here, this is where the Aldi boiler is located for your heating. You will remember that when I was looking over the vehicle on the outside and talking you through it, I mentioned you had 3 main drain down points, and this is where the final one is located. So the other 2 are on the outside. Final one is your boiler drain down point, and as you can see there's this yellow little tab. Flick that up, you might be able to hear that it just releases the water, and that will drain down the boiler tank. Flick it down or the other way, it doesn't really matter, to close the system. So when in use that needs to be closed so it can hold water, but then when not in use always make sure that that's drained down, because if it's not, what could happen is you get frozen water in this, especially in the cooler months, so just bear that in mind. Anything else you don't need to know, don't worry about, that's really just for the technicians. Right, so just moving up, you can see that you've got a just in here a Sergeant box. This is for your solar panel regulator, that is just located directly above the kitchen. Don't worry about operating that, that should just stay as it is. The regulator will just regulate the amount of charge going into the battery. Next to that, you've got your microwave. Do bear in mind this will only work off 230 volt electric, so you have to be plugged into mains electric when this is in use. Opposite the kitchen, you can see you've got your fridge. Opening the fridge up, you've got your freezer up at the top, fridge below, and this is a Dometic system. This is a three-way system, dead easy to use. There's 3 ways to fuel it in essence. You've got, firstly, you've got your battery symbol, and that's if you're running the vehicle off a 12 volt leisure battery. You've then got your gas flame symbol, that's if you're running the system off gas. And then you've got a plug, which indicates if you're running the vehicle, or the fridge rather, off the mains electric. You've then got an automatic button, which is a really good feature because that will automatically assign whatever fuel you've got to powering the fridge. Now, a lot of people think that they can wild camp, when they're wild camping rather, they can run it off the 12 volt leisure battery of the fridge. That isn't the case because it would simply burn out the leisure battery voltage. It would just take too much. So for that reason, you can only run it off gas when you're stationary. However, when you're travelling, you'll of course run it off your 12 volt leisure battery. Now I have skipped over one symbol here, and this is the exclamation mark in the triangle. This is for if you get an error. So if you ever get an error, you'll get this lighting up. You can then change, if you want, the temperature of the fridge, and you select everything by clicking this button here. The temperature gauge is just there as well, and the on button is up at the top. Now bear in mind that your fridge isn't as powerful as your fridge at home, so it does a good job at maintaining temperature, but not the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature. With that in mind, put cold things in the fridge and frozen things in the freezer, and it'll just help maintain it. Directly above, you've got a bit more storage as well in there, which is ideal, and you've also got a fan here for extraction. Rightio, so moving back, you can see that moving on from the kitchen area into your bedroom, you can see you've got loads of hanging space in here, and this is what I mentioned before. This is actually your Aldi expansion tank. At the moment it's filled up in between min rather and max. That's where you want it to be, and that's just for your glycol solution, so it stops anything from freezing in the vehicle. You'll notice you've got your aerial pole here. To operate the aerial, it's dead simple. You need to turn this white cap and then push the pole up and then tighten that into position. You can then change the range of this by obviously heightening it, changing the direction, and then using this little arm will allow you to tilt the head of the aerial. In the back there, that is your Vision Plus amplifier. You need to make sure that that's turned on, so the blue light is on, and that will only turn on with your panel on, so just bear that in mind. But yeah, you won't get any signal if that's not on, so make sure that that is left on, ready for use. Next, we've got your bathroom area. Now we've spoken about priming your system for your tap and your shower, but your toilet, we mentioned briefly outside, there's something called the blade on the toilet, and that needs to be closed when you're not using the toilet. The blade is this piece of plastic here. All you need to do is push away from you to open, pull towards you to close. So when in use, you need to push it away so all the waste drops into the cassette, and then using the blue button, click that will activate your flush, and that will flush the system. Once you've done that, pull the blade towards you, and you do this for 2 reasons. It closes the blade to stop odours from escaping, but also it stops, or it gets you into the habit rather of keeping that closed, so every time you remove the cassette, you're not going to run the risk of it snapping. Now coming back over to here, you can see that this blue button, as I mentioned, activates your flush. You do need your pump on for that to operate, and you can see we've got a red light on here. It just indicates whenever you get that the cassette is full and you need to empty it. Currently we've got a lot of water in the cassette, just cleaning that out, so that's the reason you're getting that red light. Now finally, into the bedroom area, you can see you've got loads of storage up at the top, and finally I've just lifted the bed up just to show you rather where your access point is for the garage. You have a bit more storage in here as well, along with a freestanding table should you want it. And then before we finish for today, this front section does make into a bed. If you want to do that, your table that often connects onto here will connect onto this lower bar here, to therefore create a base which connects into there. This will then slide out, which will meet to this point here, and then using the infill cushions you can then create a small double at the front. And that concludes the handover video on the Bessacarr E560. I hope you enjoyed.